Always safe where you are, but safe only gets you so far. What if you look your fears right in the eye? Say you'll see them another time. What if for once you can find a piece of you that you've been hiding? You've been hiding. What if you chase your heart out to the edge? Rewrite your stars and be brave instead. What if you jump and the falling feels a little like you're flying, like you're flying? Oh my darling, if you try, you just might kiss the sky.
They knew we were coming. Viggo tipped them off. How could I have been so stupid? Hiccup knew it was a risk to go with Viggo. Now he was going to pay for it. He thought, for a second. Oh, what a fool he was. It was many things that just didn't add up. Viggo didn't hold himself up like the king of the world now. Instead, he seemed humbled. He looked at Toothless, not like something to make some quick gold off of, but like the wonderful creature he is. Well, that was until, of course, he poisoned him. Not to mention the entire squirrel incident. Hiccup could have smacked himself. He was too hopeful, seeing things that weren't there. Apparently, Johann wasn't as easy to fool as I thought. A gruff voice rings out behind him. Hiccup whips around and is met by the view of Viggo Grimborn. The man was leaning heavily on a wooden support, the squirrel he bonded with standing behind him. Hiccup glared at the man. You double-crossing! Hiccup growls in unison with the dragon. Two pairs of green eyes locked onto the hunter, burning with venom. The antidote! Viggo, where is the antidote? Viggo starts chuckling, shaking his head as if he found this whole thing so funny. There isn't one. Hiccup's eyes widen. Wait, what? You really don't know your oleanders, do you, Hiccup? Red oleander is harmless to dragons. I knew there was no other way to get your help. He understood what Viggo did then. Of course, another trick. Looking back though, wasn't he right? Hiccup would never trust a man's help. He would never trust someone like Viggo, the master manipulator. I would never harm such a magnificent creature. Hiccup paused, vicious thoughts stopping in their tracks at the meaningful statement. Then Viggo groaned. Hiccup narrowed his eyes, looking at the man with a hint of concern now. He was acting like... When Johann and Krogan left me for dead, monstrous nightmares saved me. I spent my whole life hunting dragons, killing them, and have come to respect them as equals. You taught me that, Hiccup. That's the final irony, I suppose. Viggo tried to stand up to his full height, but fell forward, grasping onto a wooden table. The problem was instantly clear. Hiccup's veins turned to ice. There were 4 arrows protruding out of the man's back, bleeding sluggishly in the dim light of the torches around them. It painted a haunting sight, chilling Hiccup to his very bones. Hiccup couldn't tear his eyes off them. This man, one he saw as untouchable since the moment he met him, was heavily injured. The man he respected and feared more than any other was dying. Viggo! Hiccup yelled, rushing to the man's side. His hands hovered over the arrows as he analyzed the wounds. They were deep, too deep. Hiccup saw the man shake slightly under him, muscles spasming with what he was sure were severe surges of pain. This couldn't be real. Hiccup swung the man's arm around his shoulders, holding the hunter carefully as he stared at his scarred face, concern pulling at him as the man winced. Oh, this is it for me. The end of the game. Viggo coughed out. His voice, the deep baritone that sent shivers down his spine, was worn thin, sounding like gravel as the man grit his teeth. Viggo. No. Hiccup could not accept what was happening in front of him. His hands shook at the sight of his rival, his greatest adversary, barely holding himself up, using Hiccup as support. Before, when the man fell into the volcano, he felt something similar, but actually seeing him like this, it broke something in him. His heart tugged insistently. This was not how it was supposed to go. He didn't know it could end this way. A ruckus sounded out in the corridor, voices overlapping and the sounds of screeching metal. The hunters found them. Go. I'll hold them off until you're out. Viggo stood to his full height, holding himself like he wasn't in agony. Hiccup's respect for the man grew even more as he hefted up his sword, crafted as a near facsimile of his own, as something far more superior than the sword it was made to imitate. No, I'm not going to leave you. Hiccup shook his head fiercely, grating out the words with more force and pain than he thought he could muster. He reached a hand out, as if to stop him. Hiccup felt his eyes water as he looked at Viggo, who turned to look at the rider. Respect, pain, and something Hiccup couldn't identify made the chestnut and pale blue gleam even darker. His eyes were one of the many things about the man that Hiccup fixated on for so long. A man who held himself so high you could never block the emotions from showing through his eyes. For a second, he could have sworn he saw a glimpse of heartbreak dance on the man's features, like a man resigned, a man who has lost everything accepting his fate. Viggo grasped Hiccup's outstretched hand, forcing something into his grasp, meeting his eyes. Hiccup, you're more ruthless than you realize. I know you will defeat Krogan and Johann. Hiccup felt his skin crawl at the resignation in his tone. Viggo made his choice. He was going to die here, for him. Viggo's touch lingered, warm hands enveloping his completely. Hiccup didn't want him to let go for a moment. It seemed too final, too simple. This wasn't right. When the man finally did, the item was still left in the rider's grasp, wooden and cold on the skin. Hiccup looked down, breaking the fierce eye contact with the hunter reluctantly. It was the accomplice piece. The piece Viggo showed him time and time again throughout the last several hours. The piece he thought Viggo was referring to him as, and then the skrill. His eyes widened for a moment. Viggo was the real accomplice here, wasn't he? And one knew in Maces and Talons that sacrificing your accomplice could mean a total victory, as Viggo said earlier. Hiccup let out a shaky sigh at the sight. Hiccup looked back up, meeting the eyes of Viggo. A smile danced upon the hunter's face, hollow and in pain. A smile of resignation. Hiccup could understand what he was feeling, but couldn't name it. Why he couldn't let this man who caused so much pain go. His lips cracked into a small, and yet honored smile back, respect filling him for this man who kept surprising him at every turn, the man who Hiccup thought could never change. Now stood before him, different. But why would Viggo choose this, for Hiccup no less? To redeem himself? If that were true, then he fully wants to redeem himself by giving up his life? Was that it? Or maybe this was a plan, another trick. What kind of plan was that? Maybe he wanted to run away from the consequences of his actions by killing himself. Maybe it was just another attempt to slight the rider. Harm Hiccup again by taking away someone that Hiccup never quite realized was a part of him until now. Now go! Viggo points towards the door with his sword, his brow furrowed with a determination not many men could match. Hiccup's gaze lingered on him, deciding. He stopped for a moment to let the man go. Let him die, saving Hiccup in our place in Valhalla. But he couldn't. No, he refused to let this be how Viggo ended, how their story ended. He made his choice. Hiccup marched up to the man until he was about an inch or two from touching the man's broad nose with his own. Hiccup's eyes glinted like emeralds in the firelight. His determination clashed with Viggo's, making the room crackle with tension. He then opened his mouth, tilted in a challenging grimace, and spoke. This option, this sacrifice was unacceptable. Hiccup didn't understand this man, but he sure as hell would not let him die. He had a lot to explain. He had a lot to atone for. Hiccup opened his mouth and uttered a small word. Small, but powerful. A word that changed everything. No.
was the